The late afternoon sun painted streaks of gold across the Lisbon airport tarmac as Cristiano Ronaldo made his way toward the sleek, silver private jet waiting for him. The air hummed with excitement, not just from the fans gathered near the gates, waving flags and banners, but from the passengers boarding the plane. Today was special. Ronaldo was traveling to Morocco for a charity event dedicated to rebuilding schools and hospitals for children in need. Alongside him were over 100 passengers, fans who had won a global raffle, members of his team, flight staff, journalists, and organizers from various charities. Inside, the atmosphere was electric. People chatted, laughed, and took photos, thrilled to be sharing a journey with one of the world's most admired athletes. The cabin, large and modern, felt more like a luxury lounge than an aircraft. Comfortable cream-colored seats stretched down both aisles, and soft music played through the speakers. Smiling attendants served refreshments while some passengers took turns asking for autographs and selfies. Ronaldo, dressed simply in a white polo and jeans, moved through the cabin with his signature calm confidence. Despite his superstar status, he stopped to greet people warmly, shaking hands, signing jerseys, and posing for pictures. "We're all a team today," he said with a grin, and the cabin erupted in cheers. His humility and energy filled the air, reminding everyone why he was loved not just as a footballer, but as a human being. As the jet ascended through clear blue skies, the tension of takeoff eased into the rhythm of laughter and conversation. A group of young fans gathered near Ronaldo's seat, asking about his training routine and his favorite moments on the field. He told them stories of determination, of waking before dawn to practice free kicks, and of never giving up, no matter how tough things became. "Discipline is everything," he said. "Talent gets you started, but discipline keeps you going." The pilot, Captain Duarte, spoke over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached cruising altitude. Our flight time to Casablanca will be just under 3 hours. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey." Applause broke out. The passengers raised their glasses, toasting to the mission ahead, a trip meant to change lives. Outside, the horizon stretched endlessly. The sun dipping lower as the plane sliced smoothly through clouds painted pink and orange. For a while, everything was perfect. Then, about an hour into the flight, the first sign of trouble appeared. It began as a faint vibration, so subtle that few even noticed. The cabin lights flickered for a second, then steadied. A soft metallic groan echoed beneath the floor. Ronaldo, sitting near the middle of the cabin, looked up, instinctively alert. Years of high-pressure matches had trained him to sense when something wasn't right. He glanced toward the flight attendants, who exchanged uncertain looks. Moments later, a louder sound, a sharp, unnatural rattle, jolted through the fuselage. This time, everyone noticed. Drinks trembled in cups. Overhead compartments shook slightly. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. The laughter faded into uneasy silence. Probably turbulence, one of the attendants reassured, forcing a smile as she moved to check the cockpit. But turbulence didn't sound like that. Then came the jolt, sudden and violent. The entire plane lurched downward, throwing several passengers forward in their seats. Gasps filled the air. The lights dimmed, flickered again, then stabilized. Alarm lights blinked above the cabin door. Ronaldo unbuckled his seatbelt, standing despite the shaking. "Is everyone okay?" he called out. Some passengers nodded shakily. Others clung to their armrests. Pale and wide-eyed. The intercom crackled with static before the captain's strained voice came through. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are experiencing a critical engine malfunction. Please remain calm and fasten your seatbelts immediately. We are preparing for an emergency landing." The words hung in the air like a weight. Children began to cry. A woman covered her mouth, whispering a prayer. The crew rushed through the aisles, ensuring everyone was buckled in. One of the attendants stumbled as the plane shook again, this time with a louder, deeper groan, as if the jet itself were crying out. Ronaldo moved instinctively, helping steady her. "Stay calm," he said firmly, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Listen to the captain. We're going to be okay." He turned to the frightened fans nearby. "Breathe. Look at me," he said to a young boy gripping the armrest. "You're strong, yeah? Like we talked about, discipline and courage. We'll get through this." The boy nodded tearfully, clutching Ronaldo's hand. Outside, the right engine sparked, a flash of light that made several passengers scream. Smoke trailed past the window. The aircraft began to descend faster, trembling violently. The seatbelt signs blinked urgently. Alarms beeped from the cockpit. Through it all, Ronaldo kept his composure. Every ounce of focus he once used to score decisive goals was now centered on helping others stay calm. His presence, steady, fearless, grounded, became the anchor everyone clung to. The pilot's voice came again, louder now, battling the roar of the wind. Brace for impact. We're attempting an emergency landing. Ronaldo tightened his grip on the seats around him, urging everyone to hold on. In the final seconds before the descent, he looked out the window at the vast desert below, golden and endless, and whispered under his breath, "Not today. Not while I'm here." The engines roared one last time before the world exploded into sound and motion, and that was when everything changed. The plane hit the desert with a deafening roar. Metal screamed against sand and stone, the wings tearing through the dunes like paper. Inside, passengers were thrown forward despite their seatbelts. Oxygen masks dropped from above as luggage rained from open compartments. A thunderous crack echoed through the fuselage, followed by a wave of choking dust and the acrid smell of burning fuel. When the noise finally began to fade, there was only chaos. Screams, coughing, the hiss of leaking air. Somewhere in the distance a fire flickered, small but growing. Ronaldo opened his eyes to darkness. His ears rang. For a moment, he couldn't move, his mind struggling to piece together what had just happened. His arm throbbed, blood dripping from a small gash on his forehead. The world tilted sideways, the cabin illuminated by the flicker of fire through shattered windows. He heard sobbing nearby, a woman's voice calling for her child. He unbuckled himself and forced his body up. "Hello? Is anyone hurt badly?" His voice cracked but carried authority. A few heads turned toward him. People were disoriented, dazed, trembling. A young boy beside him whimpered, his leg trapped under a seat. Ronaldo crouched immediately, adrenaline surging through his veins. "It's okay. I've got you," he said, gripping the bent metal and pushing with all his strength. Muscles tensed. Veins stood out against his arms. With a grunt, the seat gave way, freeing the boy's leg. The child clung to him, shaking. "You're safe now," Ronaldo whispered, lifting him gently and setting him near the aisle. All around, people struggled to unbuckle themselves. The air was thick with smoke. The faint crackle of fire grew louder. Somewhere near the front, a flight attendant shouted for help. One of the exit doors was jammed. Ronaldo looked toward it. Flames licked at the far wall. He didn't hesitate. "Stay low," he shouted, waving his arm. "Cover your mouths, everyone." Move to the middle, away from the fire. He crawled forward through the aisle, broken glass cutting into his hands. Heat washed over his face. The smell of fuel burned his throat. The attendant at the door was trying desperately to pull the lever open, her uniform stained with blood and smoke. Ronaldo reached her side, coughing. It's stuck, she cried. The impact jammed it. Ronaldo examined it quickly. The metal had warped slightly from the crash. He braced his foot against the floor, gripped the handle, and pulled. Nothing. He tried again, harder. His muscles burned, but he refused to stop. Memories flashed of years on the pitch, of pushing through exhaustion, of refusing to lose. He growled and gave one final pull. The door burst open with a metallic clang, slamming outward and flooding the cabin with blinding sunlight and fresh air. A rush of relief filled the space. This way! Ronaldo shouted. Move carefully. Help each other. Passengers began crawling and stumbling toward the open exit. Outside, the desert stretched endlessly, wind whipping through dunes. Ronaldo jumped down first, landing hard but steady, then turned to help others down, one after another. He caught arms, guided feet, lifted children. The attendants joined in, their training blending with Ronaldo's strength and calm. Behind them. The flames spread faster, licking along the torn fuselage. A man shouted that someone was trapped in the back. Without hesitation, Ronaldo turned and climbed back inside. Ronaldo, no! A voice cried out. But he was already gone. Inside, smoke filled the aisles. Visibility was almost zero. He moved by instinct, counting rows, feeling for shapes, calling out. Is anyone here? Answer me. A faint voice responded. A woman, pinned under debris near the rear section. Ronaldo reached her and saw that a heavy panel had collapsed across her legs. He grabbed it and heaved, but it barely moved. The smoke stung his eyes. He coughed violently but didn't let go. Please, the woman sobbed. Leave me. Never, he said hoarsely. We're all leaving together. With a final surge of energy, he lifted the panel high enough for her to crawl free. He grabbed her arm, supporting her as they stumbled toward the open door. The flames were right behind them now, crackling louder, devouring the seats. When they emerged into the sunlight, cheers erupted from the survivors outside. Ronaldo laid the woman gently on the sand, then collapsed beside her, coughing hard. His face was streaked with soot, his shirt torn and blackened. The boy he had saved earlier ran up and hugged him tightly. You came back for everyone, the child whispered. Ronaldo smiled faintly, brushing the boy's hair. That's what a team does. Minutes later, the sound of the explosion ripped through the desert, the plane's remaining fuel igniting in a fireball. The survivors ducked instinctively, shielding their faces from the heat. When the smoke cleared, the aircraft was nothing more than a burning skeleton. But every single passenger, every one of the 100 souls on board, was alive. The flight attendants gathered people into groups, treating injuries and handing out water from salvaged supplies. Ronaldo walked among them, checking on each person. His arm was bleeding, his leg bruised, but he didn't seem to notice. Is anyone missing? He asked, voice hoarse. No, sir, one of the attendants replied softly. You got them all out. For a moment, the desert was silent except for the wind. The passengers, men, women, children, turned to him. Gratitude and disbelief filled their faces. Someone began clapping. Then another. Within seconds, the applause swelled into a thunderous cheer. Ronaldo raised his hand slightly, shaking his head. Save your strength, he said. We'll celebrate when we're home. Above them, in the distance, the faint sound of rescue helicopters began to echo. And as the wind carried the sound closer, Ronaldo looked out across the endless dunes, exhausted, burned, and breathing hard, but smiling. Because in that moment, he knew this was the greatest victory of his life. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction, an ocean of golden dunes beneath a sky turning amber with the setting sun. The wind carried waves of fine sand that shimmered in the dying light. Behind the survivors, the remains of the jet smoldered, black smoke rising like a dark pillar into the horizon. Ronaldo stood at the edge of the wreckage, surveying the scene. His once white shirt was scorched and torn, his face smeared with soot. Around him, more than 100 people huddled together, exhausted, frightened, but alive. A few were injured, lying on makeshift blankets torn from seat fabric. The air smelled of fuel, metal, and dust. The faint sound of distant helicopter rotors, once clear, had faded. The desert had swallowed the noise. They were on their own. Everyone, listen to me, Ronaldo called out, his voice firm yet calm. Help is coming, but we need to stay organized and together until they find us. Nobody wanders off? Understood? Heads nodded weakly. He turned to the flight attendants, who were kneeling beside a group of injured passengers. We need water, shade, and something to mark our position, he said. One attendant, still trembling but determined, handed him a half-empty emergency kit. We have limited supplies, she said. Enough for maybe a few hours. Then we make it last, Ronaldo replied. He scanned the wreckage. The plane's tail section was still intact, half buried in sand. He climbed onto it, muscles aching, and looked around. From up there, he could see miles of barren land. No towns, no roads, just dunes and the endless whisper of wind. But the black column of smoke might serve as their signal. They just had to survive long enough. Ronaldo jumped down and gathered the passengers again. We'll use parts of the plane for shelter, he said. Metal panels for shade, seat cushions to sit on. Everyone capable of walking, help the injured. Stay hydrated. Don't panic. His tone, steady, commanding, full of purpose, brought a sense of direction to the chaos. Working together, they began to build a small camp. Ronaldo led by example, carrying debris, lifting heavy parts, using torn seat belts to secure panels against the wind. When a woman collapsed from shock, he knelt beside her, holding her hand. Breathe slowly, he said. You're safe now. Look around, we're alive. That's what matters. His calm confidence spread like fire through dry grass. Fear turned into focus. Strangers began helping one another, holding hands, sharing what little water remained. Hours passed. The sun sank lower, turning the desert blood red. The heat eased, replaced by the sharp chill of evening. Ronaldo walked from group to group, checking on everyone. He tied strips of fabric around wounds, shared small sips of water, and kept people talking, anything to prevent despair. Where did you learn all this? One man asked as Ronaldo helped him bandage his arm. Ronaldo gave a faint smile. I've spent my life leading teams, he said. This is no different. We just have a different goal today, survival. Night fell. The desert grew cold and silent. Stars appeared, countless and bright, scattered like diamonds across the sky. The survivors huddled beneath the makeshift shelter. Ronaldo sat awake, eyes fixed on the horizon, his mind alert despite exhaustion. Every rustle of sand made him look up, hoping for the sound of rescue, but the night remained still. A small boy approached him, the same one he'd saved from the crushed seat. He wrapped a blanket around Ronaldo's shoulders. You haven't rested, the boy said softly. Ronaldo smiled. Champions don't rest until the match is over, he replied. The boy grinned faintly and sat beside him. Together, They stared at the stars. Asterisk. Sometime past midnight, a woman cried out her husband had collapsed. Ronaldo rushed over immediately, kneeling beside the man. He was dehydrated, his lips cracked, his breathing shallow. Ronaldo took the last of the water from his own bottle and poured it carefully into the man's mouth. "Easy," he said. "You'll be okay." Asterisk. The man's eyes fluttered open. Why are you doing all this?" He whispered. Asterisk. "Because we're a team," Ronaldo answered simply. "And a team never leaves anyone behind." Asterisk. The night dragged on. Ronaldo barely moved, keeping watch while the others slept. His body ached, his throat dry as dust, but his mind refused to shut down. He thought of his children, of his mother, of the fans who always believed in him. He wasn't just a footballer now. He was their protector, their captain in the desert. Asterisk. At dawn, the cold gave way to blazing heat again. Ronaldo stood, stretching his sore limbs. The horizon shimmered. Then, faintly, he heard it, a distant hum. He shaded his eyes and turned toward the east. There, small dots moving across the sky. Helicopters. "They're coming." He shouted, his voice cracking with relief. "Over here!" Asterisk. The camp erupted in cheers. People waved pieces of fabric, reflective metal, anything that could catch the sun. Ronaldo climbed onto the highest dune, waving his arms, signaling with the flare gun salvaged from the cockpit. The bright red flare shot into the air, streaking like a comet. Asterisk. Within minutes, the helicopters turned toward them. The wind from their blades whipped sand into spirals as they descended. Paramedics leapt out, rushing to the survivors. Asterisk. As rescuers moved through the camp, checking each person, one of them stopped beside Ronaldo. "You did all this?" The man asked, astonished. Asterisk. Ronaldo shook his head. "We did all this," he said, gesturing to the crowd. "Together." Asterisk. When the last of the survivors were loaded onto the rescue helicopters, Ronaldo was the final one to step aboard. He looked back once at the smoldering wreck in the golden dunes and let out a slow breath. Asterisk. The helicopter lifted off, rising into the clear morning sky. Below them, the desert stretched endlessly, once more quiet and vast. But this time, it wasn't a place of despair. It was a place of triumph. Asterisk. Ronaldo leaned back, closing his eyes for the first time in almost 20 hours. The young boy beside him squeezed his hand. Asterisk. You saved us. The child whispered. Asterisk. Ronaldo opened one eye, smiling faintly. "No," he said. "We saved each other." Asterisk. And as the helicopter carried them toward safety, the sun broke fully over the horizon, lighting the desert with the glow of a new day, and the legend of the man who refused to give up. The world woke to the news like a THUNDERCLAP. Cristiano Ronaldo rescues 100 passengers from plane crash. Asterisk. The headlines flashed across every screen, from Lisbon to London, from Casablanca to New York. News anchors spoke in awe. Fans wept, strangers prayed, and millions refreshed their feeds, unable to believe what they were reading. The images told the story. Ronaldo, exhausted and soot-covered, carrying a child through the desert. Survivors wrapped in blankets, clinging to life. A blackened wreck behind them beneath the blazing sun. Asterisk. It was a sight few would ever forget. Asterisk. 3 days had passed since the crash. The survivors were now in a Casablanca hospital, recovering under watchful care. Most had minor injuries, burns, dehydration, bruises, but not a single life was lost. Doctors called it a miracle. Ronaldo called it something else. Asterisk. Teamwork, he said simply, sitting upright in his hospital bed, arm in a sling, leg bandaged. "We all survived because we refused to give up on each other." Asterisk, his words were calm, but the exhaustion in his eyes told a deeper story, one of fear, courage, and unwavering will. Around him, nurses moved carefully, trying not to disturb the constant stream of journalists and officials gathering outside. Cameras flashed through the window every few seconds. He didn't seem to care. Asterisk, he was alive. They all were. Asterisk, later that afternoon, the hospital organized a press conference. Ronaldo stepped onto the stage wearing a simple black shirt and a quiet smile. The crowd erupted in applause that shook the room. Reporters called his name from every direction. Microphones filled the air like a forest of steel. Asterisk, Cristiano. One journalist shouted above the noise, "How did you stay so calm in that situation?" Asterisk, Ronaldo paused before answering, eyes drifting to the ceiling as if replaying the crash in his mind. "I wasn't calm inside," he admitted softly. "I was terrified. But I've spent my whole life in pressure situations, moments where you can't afford to panic. On the pitch, that helps you score goals. In the desert, it helped me save lives." The room fell silent. Another voice called out, trembling slightly, "You saved more than 100 people. What gave you the strength to go back into that burning plane?" Asterisk, Ronaldo's jaw tightened. For a moment, his expression darkened with emotion. "There was a child trapped," he said. "I couldn't leave knowing someone was still inside. Football taught me a lot, discipline, focus, teamwork, but my mother taught me compassion. I just did what anyone should do." Asterisk, the humility in his tone struck everyone in the room. He wasn't grandstanding, wasn't trying to be a hero. He was simply telling the truth. Asterisk, by evening, social media had transformed his act into legend. Hashtags trended across every platform. Hashtag Ronaldo the Savior, hashtag Captain CR7, hashtag the Sky Hero. Artists painted murals of him shielding survivors from fire. Fans lit candles outside stadiums around the world. Governments sent letters of gratitude. Even rival players, Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, publicly praised his bravery. Asterisk, back in Lisbon, his mother Maria wept on live television. "He's always been strong," she said, holding a rosary. "But this is God's work through him." Asterisk, despite the global praise, Ronaldo kept a quiet profile in the following days. He spent most of his time visiting survivors' rooms, checking on their recovery, listening to their stories. Many cried as they thanked him. He held their hands and told them they were the true heroes, the ones who stayed strong for their families, who helped strangers in the desert when everything seemed lost. Asterisk, one afternoon, as he was leaving the CVV Children's Ward, the young boy he'd rescued from under the seat ran up to him. The boy held a drawing, a stick figure Ronaldo standing beside a burning plane surrounded by smiling people. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "My hero, my captain." Asterisk, Ronaldo knelt, eyes glistening. "You're my teammate," he said, tapping the boy's chest gently. "And teammates always look after each other." Asterisk, the boy smiled. "Will you still play football?" he asked. Asterisk, Ronaldo laughed softly. "As long as I can still run, I'll play," he said. "But after this, maybe I'll play for something bigger." Asterisk, that night, as the city outside glowed with lights and tributes, Ronaldo stood alone on the hospital balcony. The air was cool, the sky clear. He looked up at the stars, the same stars that had watched over him and the others in the desert. Asterisk, for years, his name had been synonymous with records, trophies, and victory. But now, it meant something far greater: hope, courage, humanity. He didn't need to lift another cup to feel fulfilled. He had lifted lives. Asterisk, his phone buzzed. A message from one of the pilots, the man who had fought the controls until the very last second. Asterisk, couldn't have done it without your strength down there. You saved us all, Captain. Ronaldo smiled at the word captain. It felt fitting. Now, not because of fame or football, but because he had led people through the hardest match of their lives and won. As the wind rustled softly through the palm trees outside, he whispered to himself, "Life gave me a second chance. I'll use it well." The next day, when he finally left the hospital, thousands gathered outside to greet him. Children held up signs that read, "Obrigado, Ronaldo." "Thank you, Ronaldo." He waved, smiling humbly, then stopped as the young boy from the plane ran forward and hugged him tightly. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment that would soon circle the globe. And as Cristiano Ronaldo stepped into the sunlight, surrounded by survivors, fans, and friends, he felt a peace deeper than any victory celebration. For the first time in his life, the world's greatest goal scorer realized that his greatest achievement had nothing to do with football. It was saving lives. And long after the trophies gathered dust and the chants faded from stadiums, the story of that day, the man who defied fear, fire, and fate to bring hope from the ashes, would live on forever. The legend of Cristiano Ronaldo, the Sky Savior.